What's up, YouTube? It's Joe Catchpolia sitting on the couch, making some money investing in fractional real estate online. As usual, today I'm going to do something a little different. I've done this a few times. If you're somebody who's already making a ton of money investing in fractional real estate online, this video is probably not for you. I want to talk a little bit about somebody who has just found Lofty for the first time, is interested in investing in real estate in a fractional nature, and doesn't really know anything at all about the platform. And I want to just talk about what I would do. So I was reading Jerry. He's actually one of the founders of Lofty, and he put out an interesting post on LinkedIn the other day. He actually copied one of my videos on there, which it was nice to see that shout out. But he was talking about how there's a big difference in the level of returns that people get if they're an active investor on the platform, doing their own due diligence, really trying to take full ownership of the properties, versus someone who's just passively picking a couple properties and just taking off. And this has been my thesis all along, right? Like, I think that to be successful on Lofty, you really need to have a very active strategy, be involved in the governance, do really deep due diligence and all that sort of thing. And so if you're brand new to the platform and you have no idea where to get started, I just wanted to give you some thoughts on what I would do. Just like always, just because I invest on this platform and just because I pick specific properties, it doesn't mean that you should. Some of them I probably bought at a much lower basis than what you could get today. Some of them I might have a plan for that may or may not turn out to work. But in general, you just always want to do your own due diligence. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, but I'm trying to tell you what I would do if I were just starting out. There's quite a few things. One, if you're already on my YouTube channel, you should search for this video here, 7 must-know tips for investing on Lofty. If you're, again, this is for someone brand new to the platform, check that out. There's quite a bit of there are quite a few things that don't work the way that you might think they would work. I'd highly encourage you to click on this Learning Center tool once you sign up for an account. It'll bring you here. Read these articles, but understand that this is marketing for Lofty, right? There's a reason this stuff is on their website. Some of it's helpful. Some of it is, just trying to convince you to invest. And so you want to understand that's their motivation, right? To have active users on the site. But there is a lot of good information on there. You want to click this button here and log into their Discord. They have a channel that's very active. They have individual channels for different properties. I think if you're new to the site, you might not see this link until you buy at least 1 token. I think you have to own 1 token before this shows up. I'm not 100% sure. So let's talk about that. What should you do as far as buying tokens, right? Or what would I do? First of all, I'd pick an amount of money that I'm okay losing, right? It's a very different platform. It's, whenever I invest in a new, something new to begin with, I'm always using a small amount of money, something that's not going to hurt me. I am still very much in the experimenting stage on this platform. It's going to be a while. I've only been on here 6 or 7 months. I am making really good returns on here. One thing you'll have to know is you have to just completely ignore this return button, because it has nothing to do with the actual money that you've made, and I'm not really sure why it doesn't work right. Part of it is a lot of the returns that I've made so far have come from properties that have sold in real life, and I think that doesn't reflect well in here. But anyway, um, you know, even though I've been making good returns, I've been very happy with things. There's definitely been surprises for me, things not working the way they want, deals not working out how they should, and so, and that's with me being, an experienced investor. I've been investing in rental properties for 20 years, so I know a lot about doing due diligence on the properties themselves. I spent a lot of time digging into a lot of these properties. Even with that, there's some that didn't work out how I wanted. Um, so that's why I always, whenever I'm on a new platform, I'm always trying to experiment first, pick an amount of money, and what I would do, whatever that is, like let's say it's $500, right? I'm just going to throw $500 on the site. If I lose that, it's going to be a problem. Maybe that's too much for you, right? Maybe it's only a couple of tokens, but whatever it is, I'm not I'm going to buy no more than one token in each property at first, right? And so first of all, I'd go to the marketplace. Um, if you do watch that 7 tips video, you'll get some thought, some ideas on how I think about investing. I've done a whole bunch of different videos on properties on here. I would start off with ones that already have tanked. They all start at $50 prices. But some of them have tanked for a reason. Some of them I think are a real good discount. And so this is where I'd start shopping. It's where I do most of my shopping on here today. I'm buying, I just bought tokens 20 minutes ago, and they were like $30 tokens. So, a big discount from the original purchase price for those, which means someone who bought those tokens at $50 lost money, right? That's what you want. When you scroll through here and you see how many of these are below 50, you have to realize somebody bought these at 50, they've lost money. Now, maybe the real world asset is still worth 50 if you sold it in real life and got paid out. On a lot of them, that's not going to be true, right? We've had quite a few sales where I bought in 15, 20, $25, and the real world sale has happened at about $38 per token or 35. A lot of them have been, I haven't had one yet that I think is going to be full value. Even some pretty nice properties in decent markets, I think, if you liquidated, you wouldn't get there. So I'd pick one first, right? I'd see if there's a video on it, right? Like if I've done due diligence videos on a lot of them. But you don't have to listen to me. You can search the address. So the other thing you can do is join our Discord. My Discord. There's a link in the video description below. Um, I've got a tools section where you can use a lot of different due diligence tools. These are primarily free ones that I found. You might want to check out the 52-week challenge and start that. That is intended for somebody who's new to investing in fractional real estate as well. You can talk to a lot of other investors on here, but again, I'd want to find one token, find one property that I wanted to buy one token of it, right? Like, or something that's really just not going to hurt you. And for some people, that's not going to be enough, right? Some people, okay, I spent $20 on a token. It's not going to be enough to hook you and put some skin in the game and really want to get educated. But once you've done that, once you own a token, then you can get in the Discord. If you don't see this already, you might see this right away. I'm not sure, but I think when I started, it didn't show up until I bought one. Then get in there, really start to talk to the other investors on there. One of the benefits that I think that I really underestimated about investing in fractional real estate online is that there's a fantastic community. There's people in with all different levels of experience. Some of it not at all. Some of it, some of the ideas that get floated are a little bit crazy. There's some silly stuff happening with some of the properties, but there's some great ideas. And so, if you start to spend some time reading through the property discords of some of the other ones, you'll see which ones have been doing well, which ones have had struggles, maybe which ones have a plan to dig out of a hole, and maybe you can get them cheap. I'd spend a lot of time in there, right, before I even picked a second property that I wanted to invest in. And again, this is me. Like, you can approach this way different. I know some people jump on here and just start throwing money out on properties with very little understanding of how the site works. I think that's how most people lose money. And I think that if you do that, that's probably what's going to happen. But again, it's your money if that's what you want to do. But this is just how I would approach it if I really had no experience. And I think that if you spend, and then what I would do is spread whatever money I had across 5, 10, 15, maybe more properties, right? Each one I'd do a full due diligence on. I'd read in the Discord. I'd talk to other investors on the Discord. Why are they in that one? What's their experience been? Has the co-owner, the person who's running the deal, what's that look like? What's the property manager? I'd ask all those questions. I think that, one tremendous benefit that you have from this platform that you don't have, like if you're trying to start investing in properties in real life, if you don't have any experience, like you can take a very small amount of money, get exposure to a bunch of different deals, get experience on a bunch of different deals, um, learn from other investors. And that's one of the things that I've started to see. People will do something in one property, it works, then they start to do it in other properties in that market. For example, that we share a lot of information about what property managers do well and which ones don't. Um, we've started to see some creative use of the operating reserves, or actually setting them up as payouts, or buying back tokens or burning them. But just a lot of different stuff that once it works on one property, it gets to spread. But so I'd spend some time doing that. I'd also find this site called loftyassist.com. And one of the reasons I like this, that this is, I do have a video where I interviewed the person who created this site, although I probably need to do an update because it is so much more detailed now. He's got all kinds of bells and whistles, but in here, you can mark the properties that you own. There's a free version and a paid version. At first, depending on your budget, maybe just start with the free version. Um, you can claim your properties. You can't, unfortunately, some of them you can't actually claim if they're ones that got delisted um, before this tool was created. So sometimes Lofty will delist their tool or their properties, but you can still actually buy and sell the properties because usually it's because that property is for sale in real life. This is one example of that. But I definitely jump on there, take advantage of the free tool, because when you look at the properties in this view, I mean, you just get you get a lot more data. You can get all of this data, from all of this. He's actually pulling from Lofty, or most of it is, but it is, I think it's just in a much more easier to understand way. You can look at their, he's got charts and descriptions. You can sign up for updates. Some of this, like I said, I mean, there is some paid features. I'm not sure which is which, but I'd start to use that early on, and like as soon as you're building a portfolio, put the properties in there, get alerts. If you don't do that, and at the very least, I would set up marketplace alerts for the properties that you've done some due diligence on. You can see I have alerts set up for a whole bunch of them, and so why isn't this one? Um, if these prices go up or down, I think it's more than 5% in a certain given time, I'll get an email alert. It lets me know to come in and, because once you've done the due diligence once on a property, if you decide, oh, I'm not going to invest in that, the token's too expensive right now, let me set an alert on here. I think when you set them up on here, and I haven't used this enough, that you can actually pick the price that you're creating an alert from. Let me see, create a new alert. Um, oh, it's for this property, highest bid, market price. So let's see, what can I do? Email notification, send alert when you can buy at or below. Yeah, I can change this number, right? When I can either buy or sell at or below a specific number. Um, but if you just want to know about moves, you can just use these ones. So I'd set that up for any of the ones that I looked at, that I did some due diligence on, that I thought I'd like to buy, but just at a different price. Um, and then, I would do that. Like I said, go through 10, 15, 20 properties, however many that you think you can, and like I said, the goal initially would be to just learn. I mean, that's really, like I said, I'm still experimenting on here. I'm not putting a ton of my net worth on this platform yet, because there are a lot of little quirks and there are a lot of things I still have to learn. I did a video just yesterday about how I still don't fully understand how the staking works. That's sort of an advanced feature. If you're not, from the crypto world, it probably won't really mean anything to you at first. And that's how it was for me, and I'm still not really using that. But my goal would be to see how the properties that I pick performed for a little while, to continue to learn from the other investors, to, if you do join my Discord, and then you jump into the 52-week challenge, I'd encourage you to talk, every week on Friday, jump in here or message me or on the YouTube channel, and just talk about, um, what you bought that week, and if that's something that interests you. We're doing that as kind of a, like an accountability group, like where we just talk about, hey, this is what I picked up this week. What are you doing? Just, it helps me and I don't really need it because I'm sort of addicted to all of these sites. Um, I don't know if I already said it, but please do like and subscribe. And in the description to this video, in addition to a link to my Discord, you can also find links to all the other fractional real estate investing sites that I'm invested on. And again, just because I invest on some of those sites doesn't mean that you should. I would approach these and this initially as a platform where you really want to know more than the other people operating on this platform, right? Because one of the things, if you look at these charts, these are price moves, right? And if you, anytime you see an asset that has price moves like that, it means there's big winners and losers. People that are selling for way below where they bought them for, and there are people that are buying real cheap and making some money, right? You want to be in the latter part of that. Hopefully, that's the goal, at least in my mind. Um, and the only way to do that is to understand how this stuff works better than the next person who's investing on here, right? It's like, as I mentioned, as Jerry was talking about, the people that the, the people that do well are the people that are taking an active approach, that are doing due diligence, that are following up with property managers or co-owners on the platforms and making sure things are done well, making sure the documentation's in there every month. Um, so pick a number of properties that you can stay on top of. That's what I would do. And then, just to understand that there's probably you're probably going to pick some losers, right? Like, I mean, like I said, I have a lot of real world real estate experience, and I've had a couple of these that did not work out the way that I had hoped for yet. Um, I'm sure there'll be more in the future. So far, I've had such good returns on some of them that I think it's worth it. My goal is to just have a whole bunch of them, get, fantastic returns on most of them, get mediocre returns on a couple, maybe lose on a couple, but on average do very well. That's the benefit that we have of being able to buy really cheap tokens, is that you end up not having to you have the ability to diversify with a very small sum of money. And I think I'd do that for maybe 6 months, maybe even a year, depending on what my time horizon is and what my goal is. With how well some of these deals have gone for me, I think that sometime in the next couple of years, I'll probably move a significant amount of capital onto the platform. But I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it this year. I'll keep putting more and more, but I'm not going to go nuts on it, because I think that it is still untested, and most of the people who've invested in this platform to date, or at least most of the properties that have been put on here to date, are, the tokens are worth less than when they originally brought on the platform. A lot of the properties haven't performed, and so you really have to understand, why that is, where the opportunities are, and yeah, I mean that's where I'd start, right? And I think that one of the things that I do is, let's say it's 500, let's say it's $1,000, whatever it is. Maybe it's $100, and I buy 4 tokens. That are all $25 tokens. Whatever it is, I would think of that as the tuition I'm paying to learn about real estate investing. There's a whole bunch of these real estate investing courses out there, and I think that most of them are trash. I've actually paid for a lot of them over the years, because I've been in the industry. I like to know what people are being taught. A lot of them, they're selling you a cheap course to then have you buy their coaching program, to then have you buy, their different seminars or whatever it is. They're really just have an educational business. They don't really know. Some of them are decent, but I think that if you spent 500 or $1,000, spread it out across several properties, talked to other investors, jumped in the Discord, followed along everything that happened with those properties, were active in the votes. Chances are I'd expect to make money if I were doing that and I were really on top of all of it. But even if I lost it all, I think I'd learn more about real estate investing if I was a newbie, than really in any other way that I can think of, right? Because you're getting to look at a lot of different markets. You're getting to invest in properties with different strategies. It might be a short-term rental. It might be a long-term rental. It might be multifamily. It might be a commercial property. And as the platform grows, there's just going to be more of those opportunities. Um, more opportunities to learn from other investors. There's more, one thing that's sort of impressed me is they're attracting more and more really experienced real estate people to the platform. Some of them come in here, spend a little bit of time in here, and get really turned off by a few things because it doesn't operate the way I expected it to, um, in certain aspects, and that's because tech guys just don't think the same way as real estate guys do, and I think that the platform, is I think a lot of the early adopters were not real estate people. A lot of them were somebody that maybe heard about it through the crypto world, or somebody who's just used to just YOLOing into, meme coins or whatever. And they think, okay, let me see a yield. Let me just throw money at that. And actually, some of the people just refer to these as property coins too. And they are tokens, right? I mean, but it is, it's not, I don't know. When they call them coins, it makes me laugh because it just doesn't. I don't know. I'm actually own pieces of these properties, right? It's not. I don't know. That was a weird thing I've seen a few times. But in any case, hopefully those thoughts are helpful. If you're just coming to the platform, please do, feel free to join the Fractional Real Estate Investors Discord. We are, there's a lot of people. There's people on there that have a lot of experience on Lofty. There's other people investing on Mogul with me, or on, I am in a few other people, and Collab and Ground Floor. There are people that are investing on Arrive. That's not a platform I'm interested in, but it's on there, and I've looked at it a few times. But in general, that's all. I think that the real approach should be initially one of seeking knowledge about this stuff, long before we're seeking a real return, right? And that doesn't mean I think you are going to lose all your money on each of these. Like I said, I mean, I'm doing really well, but I think that a big part of why I'm doing well is that I brought the real estate experience with me when I came. And even with that, uh, there was a lot to learn, and I've learned a lot from other people on the Lofty Discord about how the site works, about how, um, some of the different things that are happening on some of the properties, and how some of the property managers operate differently, and all that sort of thing. Um, I think that's how I would approach this if I were brand new today, or that's how I'd want someone to, what I'd want someone to tell me to do if I were starting today. The very last thing I would do is say, hey, I'm going to take a big chunk of my net worth. I like the way this particular property looks, and I'm just going to jump right into it, right? I think that is, um, a recipe for disaster. One thing that I've seen some people start to do, and I wouldn't do, don't look at like what some of the more experienced investors are doing and buy the properties that they own, right? Like some of the people, like, you can see their wallet, right? You can figure out whose wallet owns different things, and you can copy their strategies, or just, try to copy their wallet, basically buy the same stuff they did. But one of the things is, some of the, they might have bought those properties when they were way cheaper than yours, or something might have changed since they bought it and they wish they didn't have it, but they haven't had an opportunity to sell it yet. There's all sorts of reasons that you don't, I wouldn't want to just duplicate somebody else's portfolio. And also too, where I'm sure my risk tolerance is different from yours, and yours is probably different from every other investor's. Your timeline is different. I don't, uh, some people, if you're in your early 20s, you might be thinking about, yeah, this money is money I'm not really going to touch until I'm in 60, or so. This is like, I'm thinking about this for retirement. But for me, it's a lot closer than it is for, somebody like that. Um, so the goal, I think, should be use the platform to really, first of all, understand, learn a lot about real estate investing itself, and and then the nuance between why when I'm buying these tokens, what are some of, there's some advantages and disadvantages, to doing it this way versus buying properties in real life, and then learning to take advantage of those differences, I think, is like the next step. Um, and only after, at that point, would I start to really worry about, okay, now how are my returns doing? Let me double down on strategies that are working. Let me scale back on things that aren't working. Um, One of the things, I talked a lot about, sunk costs not too long ago. I wouldn't get too attached to, I see people that are like, oh, I've been trying to make this property work for a long time, and they've just like owned it as it's gone down, down, down. Uh, I think that that's a losing strategy. But if it's tough though, because sometimes I'll buy and the token price does go down, but the reason I bought is still there, and I think the real world asset is actually worth more than that, and so I use that opportunity to continue to buy down my basis, right? You can average down. So there is a lot of nuance to it, and I think that uh, the important thing, or what I would really hope that if I were starting over today and approaching this, is that someone would help me like slow down, make sure I'm really understanding the deals, make sure I'm using all the free tools that are out there to get a great sense of what's happening. Um, and then, some of the people that started off just investing on here, maybe they're taking over management of some of these properties. Maybe there's people on here that are doing like sort of a rent to own. They're buying some of the tokens. They went and became a tenant in the property. Um, maybe taking over management of that property, maybe not. I mean, there's all these different um, maybe you own a property in real life that you want to bring to the platform. Like there's all these things that you can do, but I wouldn't jump into any of it until really understanding how things work because, um, you know, every week I hear from people that have been burned by the platform, and virtually all of them just jumped in and started buying stuff without really understanding, how it works, without really doing due diligence on the individual properties, and just really, uh, clicking on them and just taking their word for like, okay, let's see, just saying, okay, what's the highest yielding platform? Let me just or property. Let me just buy that one, right? And like, if you jumped into this property today and you bought it because it shows, oh, uh, that it has a 31% yield, you're going to be really disappointed next month because, this one, I own some of this. It has a really high yield. It's a one-time payout this month. It's not going to be like that every single month. It's been a great performer for me. But my rental yield has been closer to this than this. It's actually been higher than this because I bought in significantly below the current price. Um, but there's just so much that you need to learn, and I think focusing on that first, hopefully what I did is just deterred the 90% of people that found this video that were just planning on, looking at whatever I bought and they buy that. I think that's a horrible strategy, so please don't do that. Hopefully all those people stopped watching 26 minutes ago and was like, learning, that's no fun, right? And so, but anybody that's still here, one, let me know in the comments, right? That you're committed to, if you're still here. Remember, I did this the other day. I actually liked it when people commented this, but um, just type "I'm a noob" in the comments if you are a new person, but you stayed this long and you're interested in learning more. Right? This is a little thing. All the YouTubers my son watches. He's 11. All the YouTubers, they're always like, if you stay till the end, comment whatever. I think it's kind of funny. I think all it does is it really adds visibility to the video. But I am always interested to see like who's actually watching the whole thing. But again, I mean, if you want to interact with me on there, that's great. If not, please jump in the Discord. I love talking to all the new investors. We do have a great community growing. Um, and yeah, if you learn some tips and tricks and you want to share them with me, I'm open to that too because there's all of these platforms. There's a lot to learn. But at the moment, it's kind of like the Wild West, but at the same time, it's just unbelievable opportunity as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I've shown you some of the deals that I've made just tremendous returns on, and it just looks like they're just going to keep coming. And so, but only if you really work it, right? This is not a platform that works uh, if you don't work it. And I guess that's really it for me today. Until next time, I'm going to keep making mistakes so that you don't have to. I know you're new, so you don't know. That's just my sign off. Make a lot of mistakes. I just like to say, hey, I'll make them. I'll share what I learned from making mistakes. So hopefully you don't have to.